I want to talk about artificial intelligence, large language models. They're so large, and they're so language, and they're so model. No, okay. Hank Green recently came out and he said, "Hey, I use AI," and he explained how he uses it, and I didn't think it was that big a deal. So I figured if people are going to give him a hard time, I should come out and say, "Yeah, I use AI." How do I use it? Well, I'll talk about that. I use it professionally, like in my job, not my making videos job. I use it to help me. I use it to help my memory, I guess would be the best way to put it. I write. I am currently on a project which involves me having to write some queries in Cognos, big, massive, meaty queries, and it's so big that I need to dump the entire bunch of code into a large language model so that when I'm making changes to it, I can basically have it advise me as to what areas will be impacted by those changes. Or when I do know what areas will be impacted, I can ask about the impact. Because, man, it sucks when you're like, I got to write code, and you go through like 10 different areas and you change code, change code, and you missed something critical, and the whole thing falls apart, and you got to go back and redo stuff and all that. I hate that. So the AI is really good. I use Gemini specifically. It has the most tokens like you can use, and I will easily burn through the tokens you're allowed on the other language models in an hour. Like literally, I have done that before. So Gemini is the only one that gives me enough usage to do it. But man, I love it for that kind of work. And I bet you a lot of you are thinking, "Oh, I'm never going to be able to watch this guy again." So let's talk about why, if you're still with me. Okay, first of all, some people are genuinely scared of AI. And I think a lot of that fear comes from people have said to me, and I think other people too, that it sort of feels too sudden. Like to a lot of people, it feels like we went from Candy Crush to a machine that can write poetry and tell jokes and do your kids' homework overnight almost. Okay, so to put those fears to bed, to make you go, okay, so it's like this. You only, like, imagine a staircase where the stairs are invisible and you can only see the landings, okay? And you go, oh, you got to go from here to here, and you got to just have to trust that the stairs are in the middle because they're invisible. That's kind of what this is like. You're going from one landing to the next, and you're not able to see the steps in the middle because they're not consequential enough for anyone to have made money at it, and that's why you don't see them. But no, they are there. And to give you an idea of that, my first exposure to something like a large language model was in 1992, which is 34 years ago. It was on a TV show on PBS. It was a documentary series called The Machine That Changed the World. And they were interviewing this guy who made a big computer. It was a big project, like lots of people working on it. And he called the computer Psych, short for encyclopedia. And the idea was he was going to just dump as much information into it as he could during the day. It would consume that information at night, spit out questions it had about that. They would answer the questions as a way to guide it towards their end goal, which was artificial general intelligence, and then they would pump in more data. He read two of the questions to us. They were supposedly the questions it asked that morning. And they blew me away that it would have that level of understanding. This was 34 years ago, remember, 1992. Very different computing world than today. It blew me away. One, do countries that belong to multiple international organizations together have a reduced chance of going to war? At the time, that had not been proven via political science. It has been now. I don't think the computer was involved in proving it, but the computer did spot the pattern without nobody was talking about this at the time. It spotted the pattern and it asked the question, and I thought that was pretty impressive. Second thing, if a human, and again, this is a dumb question, but you have to think about the level of understanding the computer would have to have into how the real world works, how we work, how anything outside its collection of ones and zeros works. What its level of understanding, I thought, had to be so high for it to come up with this question. If a human is shaving with an electric razor, are they a cyborg while they are using the electric razor? Now think on that for a while and you'll go, that requires a pretty heavy duty level of understanding. Coming from a computer in 1992, okay? So basically all I'm saying is there's steps, okay? We didn't create it out of magic. It's not aliens, it's nothing like that. If that scares you, it shouldn't. It's just the normal development of technology. Just we've gotten to a pretty interesting point in technology is all. Okay, so there's that. The environment. Data centers, which are required for AI, are absolutely a very bad thing environmentally. They use a huge amount of electricity, they consume an enormous amount of water, and they're often built in communities that really can't support them properly. Okay, this is not a problem. Sorry, I had to pause for a second. Now I'm trying to remember what I was talking about. Hang on for 1 second. All right, I was talking about environmental stuff. Data centers use a tremendous amount of electricity and use a tremendous amount of water. Oh, and I was saying that the problem, it's not really the data centers when you think about it. It's the politicians. The politicians are letting the companies steamroll over local ordinances and things like that, and people aren't being protected. Because here's what's really going on. Okay, first of all, what is the global footprint of AI, of all the data centers combined? Only about 60%. Only about 40% of the data centers are used for AI currently. That number will probably go up. But all the data centers in the world, AI and non-AI uses combined, let's say they're here, okay, as far as their global footprint environmentally, okay? Do you buy clothes like off Amazon, fast fashion? I admit I bought this t-shirt off Amazon. I do try to buy as much as I can from thrift stores. I don't really have access to tailors and stuff, but fast fashion uses about 1.5 times as much as AI. Meat. Do you eat meat? Dairy? Wear leather? Fur? The animal husbandry is 2 to 3 times as much as all the data centers combined. Do you drive? Transportation, 10 to 15 times as much. Yeah, I am not someone who believes that, and I am not saying just because if there's a bad thing, just because something is worse, you're not allowed to focus on the bad thing, okay? That's stupid. If that's what you want to focus on, the bad thing, that's fine. Hey, that was my wife.
With a mouthful of broccoli.
With a mouthful of broccoli. Just because there's just if you want to focus on the bad thing, that's fine. And I don't mean that like, that's fine. No, I mean like it's good. Good, thank you for focusing on that. Someone has to. But you shouldn't focus on that if you're not aware of this. You need to know that you're focusing on the thing that is not as bad as some other things. Because somebody's got to focus on these things too. So it makes it hard for me to emotionally connect with it. Furthermore, I honestly don't think data centers are always going to be a net negative for the environment. In three data centers are currently being built. I got to remember the countries: Finland, Sweden, and Ireland. Might be Switzerland. I get those two mixed up a lot. But yeah, Finland, Ireland, and either Sweden or Switzerland. They're building data centers there because the government forces them to. Okay, the company wants to build the data center, and the government of that country said, okay, but you've got to do it like this. The company is going to be responsible for the water treatment for the entire community around it. So the community won't be providing water to the data center will be providing water to the community. Furthermore, the excess heat from the data center, as much of it as can, will be piped down to warm the community. That's where their heat will come from, or as much of it as they can. And what isn't used for heat, they're going to try to use to generate electricity. So ultimately, as we develop those technologies, we can turn data centers into net positives environmentally. Places that generate electricity, places that do the water, all that stuff can be done effectively that way. So I'm not too worried on the environmental front. One, because we do so many things that are worse. And in case you're wondering what am I focused on, I am more focused up here. I don't drive to work. I commute to work. I haven't eaten meat in 25 years, and I as much as I can, I don't buy fast fashion. So I'm doing stuff. I'm just not using AI. That's not one of the things I'm doing, and that's why. Okay, so that and that. What else are people scared of? It's gonna take our jobs. Oh my God, AI's gonna take our jobs. We're so scared because it's gonna take our jobs. Yeah, yeah, it's gonna take our jobs. Yeah, it is. No, I'm serious. That whole thing in the beginning, that was just me making a joke leading up to, yeah, it's going to take our jobs. Because it is. That's absolutely going to happen. Between robotics and AI, as those technologies develop, there is no reasonable way that you can say, whatever your job is, that it could not be done by an AI. However, I'm not too concerned about that either. You know why? Because I don't want to do my job. I would love it if somebody came to me and said, hey, this thing will do your job, but you still get to have the money. I would say, yes, do that now. Do that today. And people go, well, but they're not going to give you the money. They're just going to fire you and you won't have a job. Then you won't have any income. Why aren't we electing officials to address that? Why is that not one of our number one talking points when it comes to politicians? Why are they not all saying, this is what my plan is for how we're going to deal with... Okay, I got a little ahead of myself. We are on the cusp, and I mean cusp like years, not lifetimes, years away from reaching a point in history where simply being born with a human body does not guarantee you a place in the labor market. There is simply not going to be a demand for human bodies, for human brains, for human hands, for human feet. They won't need it. So we're going to lose our jobs. We need to elect officials. This all has to be, these are all things that can be fixed for, and they're all good news things if we focus on it correctly. Now, okay, the arts. Little different for the art if you're in the arts, because then you might be like, well, I want to do my job. You can. Like, just because an AI is out there making paintings, even if the AI is making paintings better than your paintings, people will still want your paintings. Just for the same reason that people show up to see foot races at the Olympics, right? There is no logical reason you would want to watch someone run, considering we can move so much faster, so much more easily. But we love that sort of thing. We love foot races. We love to see things that robots could do better. We love to see humans doing. And we're going to still want to do that. I do think there's going to be a weird trend in the future based on authenticity where I honestly believe that an event you are going to see happen in the near future, within a few years, it's going to start happening, I bet. Bet you $1. Bet you $1. It'll start happening, and it will be like auditoriums coming to watch someone paint a painting, and probably then you can bid on the painting. Is what I imagine the full thing will be. Like, you will literally show up you will buy a ticket to sit in an auditorium and watch someone make a painting, paint it, and you'll see it happen. And then you can bid on it because you sat through it. And people will love this because they'll know it was authentic. Authenticity is going to be such a key buzzword in the near future. Yeah. Okay, so, and I think the same thing with I think people are going to be concerned about it. I also think it's going to be a while, like longer than a few years, before AI really gets to the point where it can genuinely capture a painting. Like, AI art, AI writing, it's like bad versions of good versions. Like, it's like a very skilled painter who's still a bad painter, or a very skilled writer who's still kind of a bad writer. That's what they produce. There's like so much technical proficiency, but somehow it's just not good. That's what I think is going to continue for quite a while. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe 5 years from now, we'll be like reading a book going, this is so much better than anything I've ever read, and it was entirely written by an AI. Maybe that's going to happen. You know what, though? Even if that happens, it won't be long. Like, currently, our brains are designed around what's better because only humans ever made it. Like, what's the best artwork? What's the best book? What's the best one? And that's all we think about based on our enjoyment of it and stuff. We're judging AI art the same way we judge human art. That will change. Hang on for 1 second. That's going to change, and once our brains start to acclimate and we start to like create we will create value in our brains for something that was human made, and the more information, the more authenticity it has, the greater that value will be. It'll happen. You just wait. Okay, how do I use AI in my personal life? Okay, so I've talked about that. I don't use it to make videos. Very me on research for the videos. Like, I wouldn't say that. I don't use it to point me to articles or anything. It's more like I use it to give me lists of ideas, and then I can go through and pick and go, oh yeah. And 99% of them, I'm like, I already have all these, but sometimes not even 1% of the time, or like a 1 in 1,000, it'll come up with something on that list where I'm like, hey, I hadn't thought of that. And I am not so stupid as to think the AI came up with it. No, the AI is looking at Reddit and looking at the internet, all over the internet, and that's where it's coming up with its list. And it just means that someone out there came up with something that I didn't come up with, and the AI can collect it, because it would take me days or weeks or months even to pour through enough information to get that, and it can just do it like that. So that's what I like about it. When it comes to oh, here's a thing I like to do. Here's a tip for you, a tip you can use AI for. I use it to generate grocery lists and menus. So what I do is I take my phone, put it in video mode, and I go through my kitchen. I go through fast, okay? It's not a minute long. And I just did a video of the food I have in my house. And while I'm doing it, I'm saying, like, oh, those are some ramen noodles. This is this, this is this, this is this, this is this. If the label's not there, I just go real quick as you can. Then I upload that to a large language model. Gemini is my large language model of choice at the moment. I upload it to there, and I ask it to, I say, hey, I want you to watch the video. It's a video of all the food I have in the house. I want you to generate for me a shopping list that for a menu for the next week for food that uses as much of this food as possible. I want recipes for the items on that menu, and I want a shopping list that of all the stuff I don't have currently that is there. And that way I get to use up the food in my house. I get new interesting recipes. Admittedly, I'm pretty sure somebody came up with these recipes somewhere. I don't think it knows, oh, let me substitute oregano for this and now it's my own recipe. No, these are recipes that are out there somewhere, but what am I going to do? I would have to, the number of things I would have to do to accomplish what the AI does quickly is huge. I mean, I would have to go through everything in my kitchen, make a list of all the food in my kitchen. Then I would have to start looking for recipes that involve those foods, find a recipe that I liked. Then I'd go, okay, I need all these other items so I can go shopping for it. It just happens like that. And I don't have the patience to do all the other stuff I would have to. Okay, I think that's about all I have to say on this subject. If you ask me questions, I will try and give you answers. Thanks. You have a good day.